would you twirl, my darling? This is the shirt we're going to make bigger, among other things. So the first thing is to get all of these buttons off and save them, because while they are gorgeous, they are so thin that they're impossible to use as buttons. So they can be decorations somewhere. I also think I'm going to be tacking down the facing again, because it just, like, yeah, the crumpling up is annoying. So now, opening up, slow and painstaking, probably ought to just cut the seam off, shouldn't I? Anyway, opening up the side seams to add more fabric into the side seams, and then we will add way more fabric into the sleeves. Ugh. I might actually just cut on either side of this. This is fussy, but look, it's actually linen. So that's cool. We'll be adding linen, and it's already linen. I'm realizing just how much shaping is in this shirt. I wonder how much of it will remain visible. Now, I am using some honestly kind of weak cotton thread and flat felled seams, because that's what I always do, and the time-honored technique of just slap a rectangle in there, big old rectangle in there, and we will see what it looks like once everything is banged together, because honestly, because I know my kid, and baggy is going to be preferable. Now if we were going for fitted, then yeah, I'd have actually measured something. I promise, I would have. Now, I just happen to have some white linen fabric that I can plug into the white linen shirt. If I didn't, I'd probably be using some of the cotton bed sheets I've gotten from thrift stores that are, you know, sitting in the corner staring at me, saying, "You were supposed to sew with me." So that, I'm sure, would have been fine, and might even have been better texturally, because the fresh linen fabric is stiffer than the worn linen fabric, but I think that will level out as the piece is used. So that'll be cool. There we go. So I added mismatched small buttons to the button placket where I cut off the previous unusable ones. The chunks I added to each side of the bodice are about 5 inches. The chunks I added to each sleeve I can't hold my hand up against, because that's about 14 inches. And it looks like an enormous amount, but I don't think it's going to make the sleeves too crazy. And then I tacked the center of each addition together, because after absolutely refusing to do this for both the side insertion and the sleeve insertion, for taking the arm side off of the shirt and then reattaching it, I actually am going through and keeping every bit of fabric by just cutting the sewing threads. So then we will release the sleeve and reattach it gathered, because of that additional 9 inches, because yeah, 14 minus 5, additional 9 inches to gather into the arm side. Yeah, that'll be fun. I am not at all sure how this is going to look, but because I'm not sure how to do flat felled seams with gathering as opposed to pleating, I'm just shoving all the pleats way up high until, you know, they eat up as much space as they're supposed to, and then I'll sew it nice and smooth. There. So, obviously I'm not being precise. In a minute, well, in more than a few minutes for me, in a second for you, we will find out how this looks. And you can use that information however you wish. And, you know, I might be redoing it. But the flat felling, see? It'll be kind of chunky, but perfectly capable of being smooth. So this is how much poof we got out of all that, and that's what the poofiness looks like. She likes it, and she wants to keep the collar, and the sleeves did not get any longer, so we are going to put a long cuff here. So I'm hemming the bit that I don't know, I was thinking of these as cuffs, but they don't button closed. They're just tubes of fabric, right? They're very comically long, and perhaps most importantly, they're a single layer of fabric as opposed to like a interfaced, enthusiastic layer of fabric. So I guess they're just a second part of the sleeve that exists to make the sleeve longer, and also to make a super dramatic shape, because my child being smaller than me, there's the tube at the bottom, and there's the heavily pleated sleeve disappearing into it. So this is actually really fun, and my stubborn child is like, no, don't dye it, no, don't decorate it. So I don't even get to change the collar, apparently. I probably ought to iron it, but I was gonna do something with it. So this might be done as soon as the things are prevented from fraying. We have a new foster bunny. This is Iris. Who's a pretty baby. There we go. So my darling child walked out into the sunlight, and I realized those whites don't match as well as they did under artificial lighting. So I'm going to be dyeing the whole shirt black, but that's some other day's problem. My darling, would you spin? For now, you can see the wonderful shape we came up with somehow, and you can just like imagine this in black. Or maybe I'll actually do a dyeing video. So, are you a happy baby?
Yep.
The sleeves are a really fun shape, so that's nice. Thank you, love.